Hey guys, real quick before this video starts, I want to say that this video was recorded in between the slasher update, so some footage may have a few outdated pieces of content, but all the information should still be accurate, I hope. Subscribe to pick it? Okay, I'm sorry, I love you, bye, enjoy the video. In Forsaken, there really isn't a lot of progression to be found. There is only a total of 11 unlockable characters as of recording this, being Two Time, Guest, 007 and 7, Half, Builderman, Deucecar, Chance, 1x1x1x1, John Doe, Noli, and Cool Kid. But there is one small part of Forsaken that could be deemed some form of progression, and it's the cosmetics. Everybody loves cosmetics. Nothing feels better in a game like Forsaken than rocking a new skin you just grinded for, and considering some of these skins cost upward of 100,000 player points, or require you to be max level with a character, trying to get every skin you might want can take a long time. Okay, so what's the fastest way to grind? Well, first off, buying the VIP Game Pass makes everything exponentially faster, and because we're looking for the best way to grind, we're gonna operate under the assumption that the VIP Game Pass has been purchased. In gameplay, the quickest way would be playing an 8-man survivor killer match as Cool Kid and spamming Corrupt Nature and Walk Speed Override, as both of these can hit multiple targets and Corrupt Nature gives 30 XP per hit and Walk Speed gives 45 per kill, both of them having a pretty short cooldown all things considered. Hypothetically, if you land at least one Corrupt Nature and kill each survivor with a Walk Speed Override and win the round, you would make $340 and a whopping 1,277 EXP. That's enough EXP to take you from level 1 to level 10 in a single game. And this doesn't account for the possibility of hitting multiple Corrupt Natures, collat Corrupt Natures, hitting non-kill Walk Speed Overrides, or pizza delivery. However, there's one glaring issue with this method of grinding. You can't be a killer every single round unless you're absolutely filthy rich and can spend 200 to 600 Robux per round on Malice. So if Cool Kid, or any other killers for that matter, aren't an option, what else is there? Well, the survivors, of course. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been asked, what's the best survivor for grinding by new players? And to my loyal subscribers, that is the subject of this video. Which survivor is the absolute best for grinding? First off, let's establish some stuff. The default timer for a round of Forsaken is 4 minutes or 240 seconds. While this timer can be manipulated by doing generators, being able to shave off 100 seconds from the timer, or killing a survivor, adding an additional 30 seconds to the timer, this means a round can be as short as 140 seconds or just over 2 minutes, or as long as 8.5 or 510 seconds, if my math is right, which it very well could be wrong. These factors can't really be measured accurately in our math, so we're going to be eliminating them for the time being and operating under the assumption that no survivors were killed and no generators were completed during the match. With that being said, this means the survivor that makes the absolute least amount of money and experience possible per game is... well, it's actually tough to say. Yep, our first character on the list and we're already having problems. Fantastic. It's between Chance and 007 and 7, and the issue lies with 007 and 7, who I'm going to be calling 07 from now on before my head explodes. 07 only has one way of making money and EXP: clone. Clone is an ability that lets you spawn, as the name implies, a clone of 07. Each time the killer hits the clone, you gain 3 player points and 15 EXP. This ability has a 27-second cooldown, so this should be easy, right? 240 seconds divided by 27 seconds is 8.888, giving you 8 possible clones per game. 8 times 3 equals 24, and 8 times 15 equals 120, giving us 24 player points and 120 EXP per game. Sounds easy, simple math, right? Well, actually, no. The issue lies with the way that the clone functions. The clone adopts the health of the 07 that sent it out, meaning a full health 07 sends out a clone against a lower damage killer like 1x or Slasher, then the clone can be hit a total of 5 times before dying. That takes your original numbers of 24 and 120 and multiplies them by 5. And suddenly, 07 goes from the absolute worst to completely dusting the rest of the roster by almost double the EXP count and being number 2 for money. Now, let's look at the other piece of this puzzle: Chance. Chance only has one way to make money: one shot, aka his gun. Now, Chance is mathematically a lot easier to nail down than 07 because their gun can only be hit once. One shot grants 5 player points and 18.75 EXP per hit with a cooldown of 45 seconds. If we plug in the same math we used for 07, then Chance's total comes out to 25 player points and 93.75 EXP, which is pretty pathetic, which is why I decided to put Chance at the number 10 spot for the absolute worst survivor to grind money with. However, there is technically one more survivor that makes less EXP than Chance, which is our next up at... For our number 9 spot on this list, we have Elliot. Elliot, just like Chance, only has one ability to make money in EXP. That ability is Pizza Throw. Pizza Throw has a 45-second cooldown and grants a pretty respectable $8 per use, but an absolutely abysmal 15 EXP per use. For clarity, every other survivor in the game with an ability that grants 15 EXP has at least one more ability that grants either the same or more EXP per use, giving Elliot the definitive worst EXP grind in the game by a pretty large margin. But now you may be asking, but Pickett, if Elliot has such horrible EXP gains, then why did you put Elliot over Chance? Great question. And that's because Elliot's superior money-making abilities. Chance, as we established earlier, makes a staggering 25 points per game, while Elliot, and the rest of the cast for that matter, makes at least 40 per game. Considering player points can be used on any character, while EXP is locked to whatever character you're playing, I decided to prioritize money over EXP. Meaning, in my opinion, Elliot is just a tiny bit better than Chance, which is why I gave him the number 9 spot on this list. For our number 8, we have Shedletsky. Shedletsky, once again, only has one ability that makes money, being Slash, with a 40-second cooldown granting $5 and 18.75 EXP per hit. Plugging this into our formula, Shedletsky's total comes out to 30 points and 112.5 EXP per round, giving him worse money generation but significantly better EXP gains than Elliot. Enough for me to say that it outweighs the money loss and put him at the number 8 spot above the Pizza Man. Now there's 3 interesting things of note to look at here for the more keen observers. 1. Having one ability sucks absolute. 2. Chance and Shedletsky have the exact same amount of money in EXP per hit, which actually applies to the other 2 Sentinels as well. This is a new clause I'll be implementing called the Sentinel clause, meaning if the character is a Sentinel, they make 5 points and 18.75 EXP per hit. And finally, number 3, a mere 5 seconds longer on a cooldown can make a massive difference. Chance's gun takes 45 seconds per shot, while Shedletsky's sword takes 40 seconds per swing. This gives Shedletsky just barely 1 extra hit per game, allowing him to make marginally better gains than Chance, just barely beating out Elliot for the number 8 spot. Our 7th best character for grinding on this list is Two Time, another Sentinel near the bottom of the list, once again proving the points I just made. Again, for the 4th time, Two Time has one ability to get XP with: Sacrificial Dagger. And once again, a slightly faster cooldown is what puts Two Time just above Shedletsky. Sacrificial Dagger has a cooldown of 30 seconds, and Two Time follows the Sentinel clause. Two Time is slightly different since technically there are 2 methods of making money with them, being normal stabs and backstabs. While having different splash techs, they use the exact same ability and grant the exact same rewards, so we won't be factoring them in when calculating their total. This gives Two Time a total of $40 and 150 EXP per round, so as much as it breaks my heart as a Two Time main, Two Time sits in the bottom half of the cast at number 7. Our number 6 spot goes to 007 and 7. The thorn in my side returns again to stir up trouble. Like we established earlier, 07 is a bit of a weird case, being able to get 1 to 5 tricks per clone. So how did we decide to place 07? I decided the best course of action was to operate under the assumption that the killer hits each clone twice, with each hit giving $3 and 15 EXP. This gives each clone a yield of $6 and an outrageous 30 XP per use. With a 27-second cooldown, this gives 07 a total of 48 player points and 240 EXP per round. Now, with stats like these, 07 should be ranked higher, but I just don't feel comfortable ranking such a polarizing, inconsistent character any higher than top 6, especially not higher than our next character, coming in at... The first character in the upper half of the roster is Noob. Some of you might be surprised to see Noob this low down on the list, considering most people will tell you that Noob is the best character for grinding in the game. However, with the rules set in place, Noob has one massive flaw: no generators. Generators provide Noob with most of their EXP, and while they have the most single abilities that provide money in the game, being a colossal 3 independent abilities, these abilities all have some of the longer survivor cooldowns in the whole game, being 45 seconds for Ghostburger, 50 for Bloxy Cola, and 55 for Slate Skin. This, and the lack of generators, severely hinders Noob's money and XP making. Compared to the top 4, they just don't hold a candle. With each of Noob's ability providing $3 and 15 EXP each, this gives noobs a respectable total of 45 points and 195 EXP per round, putting them solidly in the middle of the pack. Our number 4 spot goes to Builderman. Builderman is another head case, similar to 07, because technically B-Man can make infinite money and XP. With his 2 abilities, Sentry and Dispenser, every 10 damage dealt or 10 damage healed, you gain 1 point and 1.25 EXP. This gives Builderman a theoretical yield of, well, infinity. This created a complicated situation for me, as how do I decide what to do with Infinity? Do I put him at number 1? Do I exclude him into his own tier entirely? I figured the best thing I could do was give each building the benefit of the doubt of 20 health / damage per life. With both Sentry and Dispenser having a cooldown of 45 seconds, this gives us a possible of 5 of each per round, for a total of 10 buildings per round, each giving $3.18.75 EXP, along with the extra $2.02.5 EXP per building because of his scaling. This comes out to Builderman's total being $40.212.5 EXP per round, putting him strongly in the top 4, if not higher if you do some shenanigans with his scaling. Our number 3 is actually one that took me by surprise. Taff. Thankfully, Taff is pretty straightforward compared to the likes of 07 and Builderman. Taff has 2 abilities in its arsenal, Subspace Trip Mine and Tripwire. Each Tripwire has a 25-second cooldown that rewards $3.15 EXP, and each Trip Mine has a 40-second cooldown that rewards $5.18.75 EXP. And this means Taff actually follows the Sentinel clause, so Taff is Sentinel confirmed. Thankfully, it's pretty straightforward to plug these into our formula, bringing Taff's total yield to 57 player points and 247.5 EXP per round. An absolutely standout performance that actually had me really impressed with it. I don't play Taff very much, so I didn't expect it to do so well, but I'm pleasantly surprised. However, it still pales in comparison to our top 2. For our final 2 giants of this list, the number 2 is going to Guest 1337. This really just goes to show why Guest is one of, if not the most popular Sentinel in the game. Comparing him to his Sentinel buddies, he absolutely dunks on all of them. And there's one distinct reason why Guest is so strong when it comes for grinding, at least mathematically. It's the nature of how he stuns. Most Sentinels press one ability, get their stun, and boom, that's it. Show's over. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed. Get out. Head home. We don't want you here anymore. But not Guest. In order for Guest to hit his stun, he has to use 2 abilities, both of which yield pretty high money in EXP gains. His block providing him with 3 points and 15 EXP per use on a 24-second cooldown, and his punch / parry providing him with 5 points and an 18.75 EXP per use on basically the same cooldown because of how the setup works. This essentially gives Guest a 24-second cooldown ability that gives you $8.33.75 EXP per use. Plugging this into our formula gives him a total of $80 and 337.5 EXP per game, absolutely blowing away Taff and everyone else before it. With stats like these, surely the number 1 can't possibly be much better than that. Number 1. The absolute, mathematically proven, best character for grinding in the entire game is Dusakar? Now, if you're shocked right now, trust me, I was too. How on earth is Dusakar, the character that barely anyone mains, that everyone complains about being too hard or too boring to play, the number 1 grinder in the entire game? Nobody in their right mind would ever tell you that Dusakar is the best character for grinding. Well, Dusakar has 2 abilities. Plasma Beam and Spawn Protection. Spawn Protection is pretty straightforward, granting you $7.17.5 EXP on a 30-second cooldown every time you protect a survivor for 3.5 seconds or longer, which would actually already put Dusakar in the top 4 on its own. However, Dusakar goes from great to downright unfair if we take a look at Plasma Beam. Plasma Beam can give you XP in 2 ways, similar to Builderman's buildings, except while Builderman's benefits are marginal at best, Dusakar's are astronomical. Plasma Beam just like spawn protection, is on a 30-second cooldown. With Plasma Beam, when zapping a survivor, you will get $4.10 EXP. Doesn't sound too good, does it? Well, with Plasma Beam, you can also zap the killer, which will give you $6.15 EXP. A tiny bit better, but nothing insane, right? Wrong. The reason why Plasma Beam is the best ability in the entire game for EXP and money is because of collaterals. You can zap both a survivor and a killer at the exact same time with Plasma Beam, creating a similar effect to Guest's Block Punch combo, giving you a single ability that gives you $10 per use and 25 EXP per use on top of spawn proc every 30 seconds. If you plug in both of these abilities to our formula, do all the calculations, do all the mathematics, you get a enormous, gargantuan, gigantic, huge, immense, jumbo, mammoth, monstrous, vast, behemoth, cyclopean, elephantine, giant, humongous, mondo, mountainous, super, titanic, total yield of 136 player points and 340 EXP points per game. Holy shit. This beats out Guest by a mere 2.5 EXP, but completely obliterates his money generation by over 1.5 times. This is where mathematics in video games starts to show its glaring issues. You see, math doesn't account for things like skill or circumstance. It only accounts for numbers. And the numbers say that Dusakar is the best survivor for grinding. The problem with this is, the likelihood you could hit every single Plasma Beam as a collateral every 30 seconds without missing a single time is virtually zero. It just isn't gonna happen. This is where the math left me feeling a little bit bummed out. I mean, what about Builderman? Technically, he could get more. What about 007 and 7? He could almost double Dusakar's EXP gains if played to robotic perfection. A killer like Taff would be much more feasible to hit all these cooldown thresholds because it's a trapper. You can throw stuff down and come back later. Every survivor needs some kind of other player in order to function, besides Noob, who can function completely independently of other survivors. This just left too many factors for me to feel satisfied with this ending. I could have just finished this video here, called it a day, and said that this was the mathematical list for the best grinder. But I refused. Something about proclaiming all this with no evidence other than the math said so just didn't feel right. So I decided there was only one thing I could do. I had to play every survivor and see for myself. Boots on the ground, throwing my own hat in the ring to see which character really was the best for grinding.